Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Eddie Marcus here, spokesman and advocate for basic human rights for all people. And you know that means you the people, every last one of you here in America, every last one of you on the planet Earth. But beginning right here in Woodbury, Minnesota, every last one of us, starting here, spreading out across this country and across this planet, experience your life's dream while you're here, alive on this planet, this day and at this time, as if there would be no other time in time for you to do it. You know, I ask that you give me a chance to serve you as the next president of the United States as a write-in. And I ask you to do that because I am a voice of change, true voice of change. I know if you think about government the way government is and the hell we find ourselves in today, you're probably questioning yourselves. How can a new guy like myself, somebody you don't even know, somebody who might not even have any of the experience that you think is necessary to be serving as President of the United States? And if that was the reason that I was running, or if I was running on some line stream behind that, then you would probably be right. But the truth of the matter is, ladies and gentlemen, is I'm running on change. I'm not trying to follow the crap that has brought us to the point in today that we are in. I'm ready to get us out, and it takes a new route to get us out. And based upon all of the candidates that I've heard running for president ever since I've been alive and able to understand what running for office like that meant, I've never heard anyone articulate the path that leads out of this debacle. I'm going to give it to you, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to give it to you. And as I was thinking over the week, a few questions popped in my mind that I think that you might want to have answered. And so I jotted them down, and I'd like to share them with you. And it says, the first question says, do you think you can win the American presidency? The answer is no. I don't think I can win. I'm running because I'm the man for the job. In order to win, you've got to not only believe that I am, you've got to be willing to participate. And are you ready and willing to participate today? No, you are not. But I'm running because it's the right thing to do. And then you say, why? You know, people are afraid of the unknown. Americans are self, well, I don't even want to describe you like that. I want to leave it just like I got it. The next question, the third one. In the Bible, the people chose Caesar over God. They chose a thief over Christ. In America, they chose a civil war over justice. So what would it take for America to submit to social and economic change? Well, bottom line, you think it would take one of the most horrific crisis situations that America finds itself in, and that probably would mean war on its soil or natural disaster that just wiped it out. And then you can bet your last money everybody would be able and ready to do everything that I've been telling you about for the past 33 years voluntarily. And you wouldn't even have to find out what I said. You wouldn't have to read what I wrote. It would just happen naturally, because the things that I'm telling you are those things that fall naturally. Now, knowing the odds against a win for a presidential bid, why do I still seek the office? I do that again to keep the voice of God in the mix. Now, when I say the voice of God, I'm not trying to say that I'm any more connected to God than anyone else, because I am not. What I am trying to say, though, is that that is the spirit that comes out of me. That is the spirit that comes out of me. And it comes out of me because it's not me speaking for black men or the black race or Minnesotans alone or Americans alone. I'm speaking for people all over, every human being that's breathing, whether they are healthy or not. I'm speaking for that. And to me, that got to be God, because you know we as individuals can always find some reason to stay back on someone. Now, in a community where God is rebuffed, what happens to those that honor God? Well, now I'm going to cut to the chase. In America, in most parts of the world that we are able to receive information on, when a person changes and starts choosing to please what they have learned to understand is God, the environment changes, the society changes. It changes to be more perfect. It changes to be heavenly like. Or the ones who are trying to bring that new understanding, that new expression to it, are killed. Now that's bottom line. Now in the arena of politics, God comes in on the side of Republicans, Democrats. How can this be? Well, it can be because such a God is man-made. Such a God, this God that sits on the side of Republican and Democrat, they condone slavery. That God condone bigotry. That God condone poverty. That God condone crime. That God condone violence. That God condone hatred. That God condone terrorism. That God condone genocide and war. And you know what? That God didn't stop it. That God didn't stop it. It took another God to stop it. Now listen, at the scene of a crisis or disaster, the people are always there to help. Why? This reminds them of that which can defeat humankind. As soon as they've handled the situation, they return back to the way they were. Would you agree? Then, will blacks and whites ever come together as one? Yes, they will. But only when they need each other for survival. Why is it so complicated for America to come around? Well, America was founded on the separation of haves and have-nots. You remember the aristocrats? Well, Americans were trained to idolize something that was special. The aristocrats, the rich, the Pope, royalty. And this serves as the foundation for God, because they started striving to become like that. Why is it that Americans choose the status quo over heaven on earth? Well, for the reason that they want to stay in an arena where they have some experience. They are afraid of what they don't know. And they do know this, that everybody in the past who tried to represent that God that I'm speaking to you about were killed. And they just don't want to die. And they think that at least God will forgive them on the other side. But if he won't, at least they're going to do everything they possibly can to stay walking around on this side. So that's why they are afraid. Well, why do I trust the philosophy of heaven on earth? Well, because it's simple. It is like the playground scenario. There you can play the game of life without stress. Everything is make-believe, and at the end of the game, you leave it all on the playground. You see, life is a game. Now, I know many of you don't, most of you don't know that. Oh, probably all of you don't know it. It's a game of make-believe and can be played without stress. And at the end of every life, everything is left on the playground. You see, nothing belongs to anyone, just as nothing belongs to anyone at any playground. We think we are saved as Christians, and everyone else, who and whatever you are. But we're not saved. The evidence is indisputable. If we were, America would be like heaven on earth. If just a handful of us were saved, America would be like heaven on earth. You see, we wouldn't accept it any other way. It would have to be that way, or whoever would keep it from being that way must kill us, because we're willing to die before we settle for anything that would deny what we have learned, what we have come to know is truth. You see, knowing truth We must bow and repress and represent, should I say, in our ways all of the godliness. And we must not conform to anything that restricts the expression of God. We must not conform to anything. And see, in a situation like that, people will have to change or die. And when you are brought to that point of understanding, you don't mind dying or being killed for representing God, because you have learned that being killed as Jesus, for those of you who believe in Jesus, expressed. Those of you who are killed for being a servant, a representation of God. Remember, in your Father's house are many mansions. But check this out. How do you get there? Being killed for doing what is right is like waking up from your worst nightmare. But remember, you always wake up. But what do you wake up to? If you are killed for representing God, then what do you wake up into is that dream that you have always hoped and nobody will wake you up from. You just want to be there. Don't wake me up. Leave me alone. I know I'm asleep, but leave me alone. That's what you awake to. Now these things, you don't know. You probably have heard this before. I sure can't be the first one that has received this wisdom. But I say it unto you. And I know that even though you hear it, you won't receive it. But you'll keep it in your ear. And sometime in the future, perhaps, and I hope, that you will mature spiritually. And having done so, you will be able to recall this moment. And what it would do is confirm your spiritual growth. And you can go forward. What I'm saying to you is this, ladies and gentlemen, put it in a nutshell. Since some people might think I've been beating around the bush, here's what it is. We live in a world, whether you're living in America or anywhere on the planet, that wants to deny God. God put us here to live as though we are in heaven. But in order to do that, we've got to express an understanding of our Maker in what we do. We have to express. We cannot deny. Because we know in our Maker is creation, and out of our Maker is destruction. We know that. And so being here, we are supposed to express that in our daily dealings with one another. And doing it like that, we would experience heaven as though it's on earth. But someone, before we came here, someone set a bad example. You know, sometimes when people hear you some stuff that seems to be a bad example, you want to get into it because you just want to find out for yourself. How many times when you've heard people say, don't do that, and you couldn't wait to do it because your philosophy is just because it happened to them doesn't mean it'll happen to you. You know, we always think we're smarter than all of that. But see, here's one thing about those of you who might think that I'm trying to be smarter than all of you, is that I'm not trying to be smarter than all of you. I am just like you. And being just like you, I have, and don't mind admitting it, I have learned, I have been taught. I have been taught by times, I've been taught by beatings, I've been taught by submitting, I've been taught by my way of life, that what I'm saying to you is good enough for me. And if it's good enough for me, it's good enough for you. You can always take it better. But for me, you are as good as me. And as much as I love myself and want for myself and mine, I can only want the same thing, at least equally, for you. Or if not, I don't deserve what I see. Understanding that, I have to give God the glory for this. And what I want you to know, ladies and gentlemen, that if you want peace, prosperity, and joy anywhere on the planet Earth, you got to do it under the guise of God. And that is that God owns everything. Everything belongs to God. Nothing belongs to us. All is made available for us to use as we see fit. And as we see fit reflects how we are in our heart. And if we're experiencing heaven on earth, it means that we are representing God through our love for one another. And if we're going through hell, bills can't be paid. And I'm not talking about individual families. I'm talking about the people as a whole. I'm talking about all the people. I'm not talking about if one person going through hell is enough to indicate that the whole nation is still off the track. So we can't point fingers at anybody. The only thing we can do is do everything we possibly can to right the situation. And righting the situation means we bring everybody in. We bring everybody in. That's the way we got to have it. And anybody, or any powers, or any government that says that we're going to stay the way that we are and will not change, you got a headache coming. And if you want to get rid of this headache, you change. Or if you don't want to change, then you kill this headache. And this headache will thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, bye-bye.